Okay, it looks like we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Facebook Live event for Equipment Trader, How to Buy Equipment in a Virtual World. My name is Jennifer Green-Neff. I am the Director of Consumer Marketing for Trader Interactive. That's the parent company of Equipment Trader. I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm here with my good friend, John Reneska. He is the Business Development Manager at Equipment Trader. He is an expert in his field. He's an expert in digital marketing. So really excited to have you here today, John.
Thanks, Jen. Hi, everyone. I'm John. I'm super excited to be here and talk to you about how to buy equipment in a virtual world and really just answer any questions you might have about the buying process. Okay, so I don't care if you're an experienced equipment operator or you're brand new to the equipment world, I'm here to help.
Perfect. Okay. So before we get started with the questions, I do want to mention that along with this Facebook Q&A, we have created a free on-demand webinar for you. In that webinar, John walks you through everything you need to know about essentially buying equipment in today's virtual world. So anything that we don't cover in today's live Q&A, we're going to cover in that webinar. We'll be sure to share a link in the comments for you to that, as well as other resources like a buying checklist, an inspection infographic, and so much more. We're going to try to keep today's Q&A at about 30 minutes. We did collect questions previously, and so we're going to go through those questions. But if you have any questions that you, again, want to drop in the comments section, and we'll hopefully be able to get to those as well. So let's get started. Let's jump in. As you can tell with my energy, pretty excited about this. So our first question today, John, where do I even start my search for equipment?
Okay, I know this is kind of like just this amazing idea, right? And very, very unique, but I'd say start with Google, okay? Just start searching on Google. Like anything else, we want to learn more about what we're trying to buy, right? So search for any questions you have around your equipment needs, whether it's usage or features or anything like that, okay? And, just check out industry news sites, right? Blogs, reviews, social media groups. Start making your wish list based on what you're finding, okay? And then, once you have a better idea of what you need, then you can check out a site like Equipment Trader, okay? Now, there's thousands of real-life pieces of equipment that are available to buy right now. You can search for machines in your area, nationwide, regionally, and they can all be possibly shipped to you, right? I mean, that's just the wonderful thing about a virtual environment. It's convenient. You can filter by type, by price, a lot of different search refinements. Just look what's available with your price range. Check out real pictures, videos on all your listings, and I think that would be a good start.
Fantastic answer. Also loved how you plugged Equipment Trader there. Fantastic job. Okay, next question. Do I need a special license to operate equipment?
This really depends on the type of equipment you're operating. So for example, if you're operating, let's just say an excavator, right? You typically need to have a driver's license and a CDL, a commercial driver's license. Now, if you're operating a rough terrain forklift, for instance, you need, or OSHA, actually, that's the U.S. Occupational Safety and Health Administration, requires you to take safety training and become certified. So, training for heavy equipment or for a heavy equipment license is usually completed through a vocational trade school or a 2-year college. So, just be sure to do your research on any special licenses that might be required based on what you need.
Perfect. Speaking of colleges, John, when you went to the University of Florida, did you ever think that here we would be on Facebook Live talking about excavators?
Absolutely. This is actually on my dream board, and I can actually check it off now. So
check. Love it. Okay. Next question. How do I decide which manufacturer to go with?
I think just like any major purchase, you're going to go with a brand you trust, right? And that others trust too. So start with your favorite manufacturers you have experience with, and just see what they have to offer. Now, I would also check online reviews, learn what other industry professionals are experiencing, right? Both positive and negative, and especially with the brand and the type of equipment that you're considering.
Perfect. Okay. And if I'm not ready to buy, can I rent equipment to try before I buy it?
Absolutely. In fact, I highly recommend renting equipment. so you can get a feel for how the equipment performs before making a final decision, right? Like a final purchasing decision. So, a lot of equipment dealerships offer what we call RTOs, rent to own programs. And basically these programs allow you to rent a unit for a period of time before purchasing it. So if a dealership offers this type of program, take advantage of it, okay? Plus, it may just make more fiscal sense for you to rent a unit versus purchasing one, just based on the type of project you're looking to complete, right? So if this is a quick project, why spend the extra dollars to purchase something, especially if you don't plan on doing it again, or if you can knock it out in a couple of days. Also make sure you understand how to use the equipment for the job that you've got lined up. So most dealerships that offer rentals, they also offer training on how to operate the equipment. So again, if they offer it, take advantage of it, right? So if the rental company doesn't provide you an inspection report or, get the machine inspected before you rent, because that's very, very important, right? Getting a machine inspection will just cover yourself in so many ways. You really, really should know the ins and outs. And really, speaking of ins and outs, know the terms of your rental contracts, read the fine print.
Perfect answer on renting. But this is how to buy in a virtual environment. So let's get to the meat. How do I figure out what to budget for when essentially purchasing a piece of equipment?
That's a really great question. So when buying a piece of equipment, you'll want to really just make sure that you consider the total cost of ownership, right? So there are typically two things to consider. One is fixed costs. So that's the cost of the machine or the down payment if you're financing it, the amount of time that you'll own it, the value at the end of this time, which is also called the salvage value, the cost of money. Yes, there is the cost of money, which is actually the interest from a loan that you would use if you're financing it, as well as the cost of insurances and taxes. Now, the other cost here is the variable cost, right? So the expenses that occur only when the machine is in use. So this could include fuel, consumables, pretty much any type of supplies that can get used up when the machine is actually running, as well as regular maintenance and repairs. Now, the one thing with maintenance and repairs, in order to kind of help estimate maintenance and repair costs, generally speaking, whether you want to consider a rule of thumb or not, with most machines, the total maintenance and repair costs over the life of the machine will equal to about 70 to 75% of the new cost of the machine. So, just something to consider.
Perfect. Okay. Great answer. Again, this is why we have you on this Facebook Live. Truly, you are the expert, so we appreciate you again for joining us. So I have a question here. Can I really tell enough from an online listing to make a purchase?
Yeah, I think so. Let's just take Equipment Trader, for instance. Communicating with dealers and viewing equipment online can feel just as thorough as when you're at a dealership walking around the unit. So you got to think about with options like, requesting additional photos or videos to see more of a unit, to live video chat. That really lets you connect with a dealer through a video call using like an app, like whether it's FaceTime or Zoom. You really can have an experience that is very, very similar to being in person. It could be just as effective. So okay. The tools are out there.
Okay, so outside of photos, or I think you mentioned videos, what type of thing should these consumers look out for in an online listing?
So I think when you start or started a specific search for a specific unit, you'll want to look for pictures, right? And not just one or two. In fact, if there's just one or two, you may want to move on to another unit, right? These units are too complex, they're too big just to have a couple of units.
Right.
You're going to want to request multiple detailed photos of different sections, different angles of the machine, just to get an accurate picture of the equipment. Ideally videos, right? Videos for any unit is ideal and probably preferred. I know I prefer videos. Many dealers have videos that are either a video walk around of the equipment or a video of the equipment in use. So for demo purposes, if a dealer doesn't have a video listed online, I would ask for one. What's the worst thing that you tell you no? So ask for one. And then you'll also want to look for just detailed descriptions, right, of the equipment. So the more details that you can get for this equipment, the better, because you're making a pretty big purchasing decision.
Absolutely. I mean, and then just think of photos. You have your MySpace angle, right? And so you don't really know sometimes if it's accurate, but a video, you can have a walk around, you can have commentary. There's a lot of things that you can add from a video perspective. So again, another great answer. Here's another question. What are the pros and cons of new versus used equipment?
Okay, another excellent question. You are, as I'm providing the excellent answers, you are providing the excellent questions. So thank you. So I think that there are pros and cons to each. I know that may sound like a cop out, but the pros to buying new are that you don't need background information on the machine that you choose, and you also save on repair and maintenance costs, right? I mean, so that's the first thing. On the other hand, the cons of buying new are, of course, the higher cost of the monthly payments. Plus, there's the depreciation of the equipment's value. I mean, you got to think, typically, the moment you take that piece of equipment off the lot, the value drops, significantly. And then that'll usually last. The depreciation will really kick in for at least the first few years. Now, if you're set on buying new, you can always trade in a used piece of equipment to help offset the higher price. But on the other hand of that, by buying used equipment, this could be the more economical option thanks to lower sticker price and lower associated monthly payments compared to a new machine. So as I go back and forth on this, I think some of the cons with this option of going used, you'll definitely want to do a background check, okay, to see the history of the equipment, which may or may not show areas of concerns. I think one of the key advantages of actually getting a background check, and I know this is bad to say, but you can actually verify the proof of ownership and actually see if that piece of equipment has been reported stolen. I mean, I think that's important to look at. Not to say that you're questioning the dealership. It's covering your basis and protecting yourself. Plus, you got to think about repair and maintenance costs. They may be significantly higher with used equipment, especially if it hasn't been well maintained. So I think before buying used, go online, check the reviews, look on forums for any issues with the manufacturer, the brand, or the model that you're looking at. And I'd say lastly, depending on how old the piece of equipment is, it may be missing some modern technology that could be extremely helpful to you, like such as telematics.
Perfect. That's again another very thorough and great answer. So thank you. I know today is about how to buy in a virtual environment, but let's get back on the topic of renting, because I think that's still incredibly applicable for our consumers. So what are the pros and cons of buying versus renting?
Well, I think while renting equipment may seem like the more cost-effective option, right? Especially if you plan to use this equipment every day or every, 3 times a week or consistently, right? It may make more sense to just go ahead and purchase it, right? I mean, you're going to be spending a lot of money if you're going to be using this equipment on a regular basis. Now, on the other hand, if you don't plan on having much need for the equipment, but you may have a job arise here and there, I think renting is a great way to get the job done without having to commit the cost of actually owning that piece of equipment. Now, keep in mind, though, if you own the equipment, you always have the potential to get a return on that investment through resale, right? You can always resell it if you want to. So I think you need to just ask yourself the question, how much profit of a new machine will help generate, like how much more profit will you be generating by completing new projects or by simply getting the job done faster? Ask yourself that question, and I think the answer will drive you in the right direction. And then just think about whether you currently have equipment you could use as a trade-in to lower the price, right? So, or if you're able to sell your purchased machinery once you're done with it, or you want to upgrade it to help you recoup some of the money later down the road. You may be able to even actually rent your own equipment if you want to. I mean, there may be a little bit more work involved, but it could be a nice little revenue chain.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. Looks like we do have a question from Facebook. So how do you feel about buying equipment at an auction?
I think dependent upon the condition of the unit, I think auction could be a great way to buy low on something, especially if the repairs are minimal. auction could be a great source, a great channel to utilize. So I'd recommend it, but you got to do your homework, right? You're not just kind of blindly purchasing this stuff. And if you do have to blindly purchase anything, just make sure that the cost is extremely low, because the last thing you want to do is purchase something, and then with all the additional repair costs that could be involved, you could be upside down on the unit.
Yeah, good call. And this actually segues into our next question, essentially about doing your homework. So when inspecting equipment, what types of things should I look for?
I think generally speaking, there are about 6 things to look for when inspecting a piece of equipment. Okay, so the first thing is, let's start with the big stuff, right? Engines, transmission, hydraulic parts. So check for smoke, sounds, warning lights. Then look at the body of the equipment, right? Look for just general wear and tear, cracks, rust, some of the basic stuff. The condition of the interior, how does it look? Is it really worn down? Fluids and exhaust cleanliness, that's really important. Dependent upon the type of track, right? Tires, tracks, drivetrains, the brakes, and also the technology level. I don't think that a lot of buyers really ask themselves the question, do I know how to actually use this technology properly? And am I even certified to even operate and use it? I think that's a pretty important question to ask.
Yeah, great answer. Okay. So here's a really great question for you. I think as we're talking about a digital environment, one of the first things that probably causes consumers to hesitate is the potential of being scammed. So we have a question here. I worry about buying online and giving out my personal or financial information. How will I know I won't get scammed?
This is another topic that we cover in the webinar in much more detail, but there are a few things you can do to ensure that you can avoid a scam, right? And the first is confirm that the equipment and the seller and the deal are real, okay? So, do a search for the dealer, make sure the information matches the listing, make sure the photos are real, and that they're not just stock photography. Anytime you're buying a piece of equipment, especially if it's a used piece of equipment, you better not be relying on any stock photos. Look for actual live, real images. The second one is use caution when browsing sites. Most fake websites will look somewhat odd, strange, right? Whether it's spelling or grammar mistakes or low quality product images, just other oddities on the site that stand out. If it seems odd, it probably is. Move on. There's too many options out there. Don't limit yourself. And I think lastly, only use secure payment methods and credit card protection programs. So remember, anything that seems suspicious, it most likely is. Okay, so before placing any payment online, ensure everything is legitimate, and frankly, you can never be too careful.
Yep, absolutely. And there are benefits to purchasing digital. So here's a question: if I buy equipment online,
Okay.
do I still need to go in person to pick it up? And if I don't go in person, what's the best way to communicate with the seller?
Well, you can go to the dealership to pick up the equipment if you prefer that route. Now, but many dealerships are now offering delivery services where they'll deliver the equipment right to your work site. And I think, frankly, if you can make that happen and you're comfortable with that option, I'd recommend it. Again, there's so many things that you could do. Look at videos, look at sufficient photos, look at the background check, look at inspection reports, to where look at a demonstration of how the unit lists and runs. I think you can get enough information to feel comfortable of just having it deliver without actually going to the work site. Now, this year, one communication channel that really took off is texting, right? We saw over 180% increase in the number of text messages being sent out to dealers. And, this is almost be considered like the new norm. And, you can text with a dealer about the unit that you're interested in, so that you don't necessarily have to spend extra time tied up on the phone. So, look, this is all about convenience, right? Anytime you can make it convenient, you can streamline the process and just get to the end goal, buy that equipment and buy the right equipment quicker. I think that's the best route to take. So, and of course, do it safely. And I think the last thing is, you can also use, FaceTime, video chats, live chats, phone calls, emails. Whatever you're comfortable communicating, or whatever communication method you're most comfortable with. I think use it. There's so many options out there. And you can also even do an inspection virtually. I mean, times are changing. You couldn't do this 10 years ago. You now have that option today. So I think in this virtual world, buyers and sellers, or more importantly, dealers and sellers, they want to accommodate you and your needs, and they're going to provide you whatever channel you need and you're comfortable with.
Perfect. Okay, so it actually looks like we have gotten through all of the questions that we collected. If there are any other questions that you guys have that are currently on the live, go ahead and drop them in the comment link or the comment section, and then we can address them now. I do want to mention, just a reminder, that we'll also be dropping that link to our blog in the comment section. We have a bunch of additional resources, blog posts, webinar, infographics, checklists, you name it, we have it there for you. So let's see if there are any other questions. Doesn't look like it. If we didn't, answer any questions that you have today, if you think of something else, go ahead and email your questions to marketing@equipmenttrader.com, and we'll make sure to get back to you. But again, as we wrap up today, I just want to say thank you so much, John. You have been incredible. Thank you for all your insight today. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share with the group?
No, I mean, just thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I repeat the same thing as Jen. Hopefully you found this Q&A to be helpful. If you do have any other questions, you can also find me on LinkedIn and message me directly if you want to. But really, best of luck to you in your search. Be sure to check out equipmenttrader.com, really all the tools, the resources that it offers. I think it could really just help make the buying process a lot easier. And just again, thanks for everybody for attending, and I hope you have a great week.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Bye.